Love fam, it's your girl, the Civilized Savage, and welcome back to Between Me and You. Now, this entry is landing off of the back of Valentine's Day weekend, and I think it's so fitting, actually, given that last entry I spoke about the subtle ways that we harm and the things that we do that are very unloving towards the self. This entry is like a bell hooks book because it's all about love. So, with that being said, I'm going to preface it by saying the observance that I had for my experience of love this past weekend was definitely not connected to Eros. It wasn't a romantic kind of love. Now, as somebody from the poetic community who I've become quite closely acquainted with, who goes by Verses of the Path, would argue that the reason why I didn't have a romantic experience this weekend is because I'm a love hater. But guys, honestly, I kid you not, beneath the layers, beneath the exterior, I actually am a real genuine lover girl. Now I know that sounds like I'm trying to convince me more than I'm trying to convince you, but honestly, I do love love. I'm not a love hater, but anyway, we move. So yeah, the observance that I made this past weekend was really about how abundant I was in love, despite it not being romantic. Because I think too often, particularly here in the West, whenever we think about love, the only thing we think about is eros. The only thing we think about is romantic love. But what about the type of love for people that isn't sexual, that's non-romantic? The love for our passions, the love that allows us to experience joy, excitement, pleasure, the love of life. Where's the celebration for that type of love? I can't be the only one who thinks that love is just so much more than that. The eros, I mean. Like, love is being appreciated, it's having life spoken into you, it's being seen, it's feeling the joy and excitement about creating. If you're a creative, like, that you just feel gassed and you feel super inspired. You know that feeling of just that. I don't even know what that is, but that. And it's wanting to show up and participate in things because you just feel so full, I guess, might be the word. So yeah. So speaking about love and showing love to others, I want to give some shout outs actually for this entry. I want to shout out AR Sense, Yasmin, Vigs, Guy Kelton Jones the first, Louis the Hippie, and Chloe Carter with two R's, because you have to add the two R's. And the reason why I want to shout these guys out is because directly or indirectly, when I've been outside, in rooms, in conversation, in shared spaces, these people have either directly shown me love or they've reconnected me to a loving feeling. AR Sense, Yasmin, Vigs, you guys have directly spoken loving words over me. In times when maybe I've been kind of forgetting my own source, you guys have explicitly reminded me that I'm that girl. And in the moments where I was slipping away from the sauciness, you were like, nope, douse yourself in sauce, babes. And I love that for me. And I love you guys for doing that for me. I fully appreciate you. Guy, Chloe, and Louis, you guys just really reignited a passion in me this past weekend. Going to Poets Palace to see Guy Kelton Jones the first in his midnight sermon. Oh my goodness. I was captivated by him. And I was literally like, I need to up my game in everything, bro. And yeah, the level of inspiration that I felt by being in that show was just 10 over 10 over 10. And this is why the arts are so important, and being in creative spaces is so important, because it really does reconnect you with a level of passion that I don't think any other activity can really do. Similarly, with Miss Chloe Carter with two R's, I saw her perform at Louis' show, Live and Lit, and both of them, again, just super inspiring. Just seeing them both in their element, doing exactly what they love. It was just a major inspiration for me to be like, look, these people are just showing up, doing what they love, creating spaces for people to also enjoy the things that they enjoy collectively together. And it was just such a beautiful thing to me. So big up you lot for contributing to that feeling of being ignited. It's such a great feeling, and I love that for me. Speaking on feelings that I love for me, the feeling of self-celebration. Now, I'm somebody, as you guys probably heard me already say, who tends to not really celebrate themselves. So this is why it means so much to me when people actively come and speak life into me and celebrate me, because it reminds me that this is something that I need to be doing more for myself. it's so unfortunate because I feel like living in Western culture, we're almost conditioned to diminish, to brush things off, to downplay, and really like not talk ourselves up. There's this belief that if you celebrate who you are, what you're doing, what you're contributing, that somehow you're arrogant, that you think you're too much, that you're too big for your boots, that you think so you're too nice. You know, that kind of energy and that kind of attitude. And I'm really in the practice of moving out of that. And I'm very intentional about saying it's a practice because it actually is a practice for me, because it's not something that comes naturally for me to celebrate myself. So it's the idea that, you know, if we're talking about love, let's love ourselves enough to celebrate ourselves. Yes, champion yourself. Yes, put yourself on. Yes, create spaces where you can be seen and you can be heard and you can share your gifts with the world. Absolutely yes to all of these things. You don't have to be an influencer to have influence. And you don't have to be a celebrity to be celebrated. So yeah, this past weekend, I was definitely reminded of the importance of self-celebration and that I'm worthy of celebrating. So, quick question to you guys. How can you be celebrating yourself a little bit more at the moment? What things can you be doing to put some respect on your name? Let me know in the comments. Anyway, speaking of things that are worthy of celebration, this week I was interviewed by Dawson Radio Live. Yeah, I know. Yay. I need to get some sound so I can be like, shh, ba, 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 ba. Anyway, we'll do that at some point in the future. Whilst on Dawson Radio Live, an interesting question came up. And that was in regards to the content that I create. And the question was quite simple. Who is my content for? Specifically, this space between me and you. Because I feel like mentality has quite a clear demographic. But between me and you, maybe not so much. And when I posted the first entry of Between Me and You, a piece of feedback that I got was, I don't think everyone's going to get it. And if I'm quite honest, that's something that I generally agree with. Not everyone is going to get it. So then what I started to explore was, well, if it's not everyone, then who? And the answer that I came up with was ultimately my content, the things that I create, I'm ultimately making them for me. And I say that because first of all, I'm creating the kind of content that I would want to listen to. I am my demographic ultimately. I feel like online, there's so much noise right now. There's so much negativity. A lot of content feels loud for no reason. It's just loud for the sake of being loud. Rather than complain about that, I thought, well, why not become the thing that I wish existed? And I don't say that from a space of being resistant or in direct opposition to the things and the content that's out there at the moment, but more as like a compliment, because there's space for everything, in my opinion. I just want to create a space for depth, self-reflection, growth. Again, the types of things that I'm interested in and that I want to hear, and spaces that I want to be a part of. The moment I start to think, why isn't there a space for X? Then maybe the answer isn't to wait for X to appear. Maybe the answer is to build X. If anybody's seen Field of Dreams, you know the quote I'm about to drop on you right now, which is, build it and they will come. So that's what we're doing. Well, that's what I'm doing in my own little way, in the way that I can. Now, the second reason why my response to the question, who is it for, is it's for me, is a little bit more personal. Now, for a long time, I've diminished my own voice. I've experienced challenges with imposter syndrome, perfectionism, inner critic, all the stuff that I spoke about in the last entry. You know, my inner critic will say things to me like, you're not ready, you're not good enough, no one cares, all of that stuff. Yeah. And ultimately, making the conscious decision to create, to show up, to express my voice, to do the things that I've always either procrastinated on or been too fearful to do. Me doing these things now is a direct middle finger, if you like, to the imposter syndrome, the perfectionism, and all the rest of it. Me creating this type of content now is hearing those words and those limiting beliefs and saying, I see you. I know you're trying to protect me, because ultimately that's what your inner critic does, isn't it? Like, that's the part of your ego that tries to protect you from judgment, rejection, failure, and all of the things. But protection can also become paralysis. So I'm really learning to put myself in the space of, as the Susan Jeffers book says, feel the fear and do it anyway. So that's what all of this content creation for me is. It's a way for me to practice using my voice. It's a way for me to diminish the perfectionism by saying, even though I feel like it's not ready and it might not be completely polished, I'm going to create it. I'm going to share it anyway. Even if I haven't completely figured out exactly how to do it, I'm going to show up and do what I can anyway. So yeah, when it comes to me creating content and who it's for, I'm ultimately creating for the version of me who just needed this space. And if any of what I create resonates with you, then maybe it's for you too. And if it's not, that's okay, because guess what? We're going to be doing it anyway. But yeah, as I mentioned, Susan Jeffers and Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, I'm going to reference another book. Now, guys, if you know me, or if you followed me, you know that I read a lot of books, and oftentimes I quote things and reference things, not because I'm trying to be anybody's guru, but because I like to share the lessons that I'm learning. There's things that information that I've acquired, and I just like to share it when it's relevant. And recently I revisited Fear by Thich Nhat Hanh. Now, for those of you who are not familiar who that is, he was a Vietnamese Zen Buddhist monk, a peace activist, spiritual teacher, and he was effectively the person who was accredited for bringing mindfulness as a concept to the West, like in the kind of like accessible way that we potentially know it today. So I want to share with you guys a little portion of what I was reading in this book called Fear, and it reads as follows. We can make the time and space, not in a busy moment, but in a quiet time, to tell the suffering, wounded child inside us that she doesn't have to suffer anymore. We can take her hand and invite her to come into the present moment and witness all the wonders of life that are available here and now. We can say, come with me, dear one. We have grown up. We no longer need to be afraid. We are no longer vulnerable. We are no longer fragile. We don't have to be afraid anymore. The book continues to say, you have to teach the child in you. You have to invite him or her to come with you and live life with you in the present moment. Of course, we can mindfully reflect upon and learn from the past, but when we do, we are to stay grounded in the present moment. If we are well grounded in the present moment, we can look skillfully at the past and learn from it without being sucked in and overwhelmed by it. And that whole part deeply resonated with me, because so much of what we call fear is the voice of that younger version of ourselves, or that wounded version of ourselves. The part that learned to play small in order to stay safe. The part that learned to be quiet in order to not be rejected. That part that learned not to attempt or try or be in the practice of things for fear of failure. And so, again, with that, my decision to create and show up is me kind of like taking my inner child by the hand and saying, I got this now. We're good. We're safe. We can do this. And this brings me back to love and being loving. There's this narrative that external validation is bad, that we should only validate ourselves. And yes, our worth is intrinsic, and I think it's necessary that we recognize it as such. However, being seen matters, at least in my opinion, at least to me. Being acknowledged matters. Being celebrated matters. When someone says you're doing well, it adds to you. It builds your esteem. It contributes to your self-perception. I feel like it adds to your mental and emotional bank account. So when you self-doubt and when you're starting to feel less than or not enough, and it will, because it does all the time, you have evidence, you have funds to draw from, so to speak, to maintain the bank account analogy. I definitely don't feel that we should chase validation, but I also don't think that we should reject encouragement and compliments and support. I feel like receiving is just as important as giving. And as someone who struggles with receiving compliments and praise, yeah, I think, again, allowing yourself to receive that love is just as important as you attempting to give it to yourself. There's a line from The Seven Spiritual Laws of Success by Deepak Chopra where he says, wherever you go, give someone something. And he says that doesn't have to be anything material. It can be a compliment, a blessing, a kind word. Because according to him, and his beliefs come from ancient wisdom traditions, giving and receiving come from the same energy. One of my areas of practice right now is to learn to receive. Because more time when somebody says that I'm doing well or they like what I'm doing, my instinct, my like just my go-to reaction is to deflect. But honestly, I'm in a practice of learning to let it land and to say thank you and to really be in a space of gratitude when people offer me these compliments and praises, obviously without allowing it to inflate my head and my ego. I just feel like when I let it land, it genuinely strengthens me. Like it helps me to continue. It helps me to face the next fear because I'm being reminded that actually you're doing good. You're actually in a better space than you believe yourself to be. You've got this. You can do this. Believe in your source and get the ish done. So on that note, this wouldn't be an entry of Between Me and You if I didn't leave you guys with a little something. So the little something for this entry is, in what ways could you celebrate yourself more? Not arrogantly, not from a space of ego, but genuinely from a space of love and kindness from and to yourself. If in response to that question, anything comes up that you'd like to share with me and everyone else, drop it in the comments. Or if you want to keep it private, send me a DM. And if you know me like that, you got my number, get me on the phone. Hit me up, let's have a chat. All right, guys, I feel like that's it for today. If anything in this entry resonated with you, feel free to share it. If you're not yet subscribing, please do that. As I said already, leave me a comment. I value the dialogue that we're building. I do respond to comments when you send me them. And yeah, also remember, guys, this week, to bring it back full circle, talking about loving and being loving. Tell someone that you love them. Tell someone that they're doing well. Give someone a compliment. Offer someone praise. Remind somebody that you think they're dope. I feel like we really underestimate the power of encouraging words, independent of love languages. Yeah, just as humans, we like to be seen. We like to be received as doing well and showing up. So yeah, be that voice for somebody. And to those of you who have been that voice for me, thank you. I appreciate you. And finally, thank you for continuing to share this space between me and you.